In 30 minutes, now to CBS 10, Charles Kuralt.
Good evening. This is the CBS Evening News. I'm Charles Kuralt, sitting in tonight for Dan Rather. It was such a bad fire, they still don't know how many people died in it. 42 bodies have been recovered so far. And the governor of Puerto Rico said the fire that wrecked the DuPont Plaza Hotel in San Juan yesterday might very well have been deliberately set. We have two reports from San Juan. First, Peter Van Sant.
One by one today, the charred remains were removed from San Juan's DuPont Plaza Hotel, victims of what some top government officials believe was an arson fire. Investigators say inside the hotel's burned-out casino, the dead were found in a macabre setting.
You said that people were sitting in chairs. What other positions?
Playing on the tables of the casino.
They got all over, one on top of the other. They're cramped up. There's about 25 of the bodies right on one on top of the other.
In addition to the dozens who died, more than 100 were injured, caught in what one survivor called a hellish nightmare.
Put your hand on the top. Okay. Your brother's okay.
My wife is inside.
Survivors say the death and destruction could have been avoided, that telephoned warnings went unheeded.
Some guests say bomb threats were phoned into their rooms hours before the fatal fire. Threats that hotel management told them to ignore.
It could have been all avoided, in my opinion. There was people that called the rooms and saying that there was going to be a bomb going off, and nobody did anything about it. Nobody was notified about nothing, but these people knew this was going down.
Officials tonight are investigating those claims. The injured have filled San Juan's hospitals. 18 remain in critical condition tonight. Many were injured when hotel guests panicked. Ed Cohn of Fairfield, Connecticut, was trampled.
I guess I have 2 fractures in the right leg and 1 fracture in the left leg. And I have a 50% fracture of the spine. You just can't move, can't walk.
Hundreds of hotel guests tonight are still without a change of clothes or any money. No one is being allowed back to their rooms, but most say they're lucky to be alive.
If we had not been awake, smelled the smoke, taken action ourselves by covering our faces with wet towels and gotten out on our own, we would have perished.
Tonight, forensic experts are trying to identify the dead. Investigators are combing through the burned-out casino level of the hotel, trying to determine whether claims the fire was deliberately set are true. Peter Van Sant, CBS News, San Juan, Puerto Rico.
Was it arson that sparked the worst fire in Puerto Rico's history? The suspicion is based on several small fires that had been discovered in recent days by security personnel. The hotel was in the midst of a bitter labor dispute with its Teamsters employees. A union meeting had ended just before smoke and flames engulfed the lower floors.
In the casino, the word was passed out minutes before the event that certain people there should leave because something was going to happen.
And it did. Witnesses claimed several explosions ripped through the lower floors. The U.S. attorney in Puerto Rico said obviously what happened was not an act of God. The union says its members did not do it either, and this afternoon offered a $15,000 reward for information about the cause of the fire. Teams of investigators from the FBI and the Treasury Department flew in from the United States to look for the answers.
The heart of the DuPont Plaza operation was the ground floor casino, which was full of tourists. Most of the bodies were recovered there. Investigators want to find out where the explosions came from and why so many people were trapped inside.
One casino employee said the manager, as he had done in previous fires, closed the casino doors at the first sign of smoke to avoid disrupting the gamblers.
He gave orders to close the door, but he didn't know it was going to be so big. He died also.
The casino did not have a sprinkler system. The law does not require it. But hotel guests complained that there was no alarm and no warning to get out. Guests also complained that the hotel had not warned about union problems, but the union had. A radio commercial paid for by the union warned San Juan residents that the DuPont was not the place to go New Year's Eve. Juan Vasquez, CBS News, San Juan.
There's a long history of hotel fires that caused great loss of life. The worst was the Winecoff Hotel fire in Atlanta in 1946, in which 119 people died. The building had no fire escapes. Terry Drinkwater looks into the question of hotel fire safety, or rather the frequent lack of it.
High-rise hotel fires are often such tragic killers, experts say, for two basic reasons. They spread rapidly, small blazes becoming infernos, filling vast areas with deadly smoke. And many hotels do not have adequate routes to safety for those trapped. In 1980, at the Las Vegas MGM Grand Hotel, 84 died. Then, as now, a fire in a skyscraper is the hardest kind to fight.
It's like a vertical city. Everything is straight up and everybody's stacked on top of each other. And it's like a roasting pan, I guess. At the bottom, a fire goes up.
At the MGM, noxious smoke spread through air conditioning ducts. Flammable carpets were also sighted. There and in many other fires, plastic furniture burned.
Once they do ignite, they are responsible for giving off large volumes of toxic fumes and gases.
In design of the newest hotels, the emphasis is on prevention and quick detection. Computers and TV monitoring systems checking all the floors. Fire safety devices are as apparent as the clean towels.
As you can see, we have the smoke detection in the room as well as sprinklers throughout the room.
And heat detectors everywhere, too. High-tech grease cleaners to prevent kitchen fires. Fans keep smoke from the stairwells, a main escape route.
This fan would kick in automatically and pressurize the stairwell.
In many cities, it has taken a major disaster like this one in Los Angeles 4 years ago to force changes in building codes. Fire chiefs agree the codes must be tough.
It requires the elected officials to pass the ordinances, requires the building management to implement those, the fire department well-trained, and then the public also to be aware.
In Puerto Rico, the codes are not as strict, and they are not uniform there or here in the United States. They vary greatly from one city to another, from updated to ancient, from safe and secure to dangerous and deadly. Terry Drinkwater, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Later on tonight's CBS Evening News, students demonstrating for freedom in China battle with police in the heart of Beijing. And if your New Year's resolution is to go on a diet this year, we offer the story of one man who found it easier to star in the Super Bowl than to lose weight.
Going once, going twice, going this February. $10 million from American Family Publishers, the only sweepstakes to award cash millions to winner after winner. Like this.
$1 million.
$1 million. $2 million.
$2 million.
You may be next, the richest winner of all. So watch your mail for this sweepstakes with my picture. Going this February, $10 million. Last chance. Enter today.
Ex-Lax presents some gentle guarantees. The warmth of the new sun waking the sleep from your body. The cool freshness of the morning air. And now the peace of mind that comes from the Ex-Lax guarantee. Taken at bedtime, Ex-Lax is guaranteed to work gently, effectively, by 8 a.m. or your money back. So in this uncertain world, isn't it nice to know you can relax with a family friend? Ex-Lax, guaranteed to work by 8 a.m.
Authorities in China have let students know repeatedly that they've had enough of demonstrations for freedom and democracy. But students in Beijing clearly have not had enough. They started 1987 with an audacious protest. David Jackson reports.
The one-month-old student movement for democratic reform today reached the very heart of Chinese communism, Beijing's Tiananmen Square. About 1,000 protesters singing patriotic songs defied a government ban and broke through a police cordon around the politically sacred ground, the site of the Great Hall of the People and Chairman Mao's mausoleum. They're chanting, "Long live democracy and long live freedom." They appear to be very loosely organized, and some who study with them say their goals are vague.
They don't have a very clear idea of what democracy actually is. The only thing they know is China, as it is now, is not a free country.
Today is the first time in more than a decade since the end of the brutal Cultural Revolution that the Chinese capital has seen such open defiance of the law or heard such vocal criticism of the government. Police cameras took pictures of as many as possible for identification later. Before order was finally restored, several were pulled from the crowd for interrogation now. The students are finding out that here, demonstrating for more freedom often gets them less. Late tonight, demonstrations continued at Beijing University, angry students demanding the release of their jailed classmates. The reform-minded government of Deng Xiaoping does not want the world to have an ugly image of politics Chinese style. But at the same time, authorities now are sure to crack down, to redouble efforts to prevent this sort of demonstration from ever happening again. David Jackson, CBS News, Beijing.
2 explosions in rapid succession blew the front off an apartment house in Dublin today. Rescuers recovered 2 bodies and were looking for 3 other residents still unaccounted for. The police said a strong odor suggested the cause of the explosions might have been a gas leak. Soviet State Radio offered a delayed broadcast today of President Reagan's New Year's greeting to the Russian people, but not all of it. An indirect reference to the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan was cut by Soviet censors. The original version of Mr. Reagan's message was jammed by the Russians as it was beamed out yesterday by Voice of America. The censored Soviet version was aired without notice and before many Soviet citizens were even awake. Wyatt Andrews reports from Moscow tonight that the Soviet economy soon will feature an edited version of another Western concept, private enterprise.
Just off a side street in Moscow, wedged in an alley, a mechanic pounds on the bent left fender of a Zhiguli sedan, while the car's owner paces nervously, hoping our news camera will go away. The private transaction here is for cash, the practice completely illegal, and absolutely everybody knows about it. In fact, much of the Soviet economy couldn't function without work just like this. From freelance auto repair to street corner hand-sewn dresses, the Soviet consumer depends on gray market or black market goods and services. The practice has a name, Nalieva, meaning on the left, and is so common, the goods so superior, that the Soviet government is about to make it legal. The Soviet parliament has voted to legalize freelance private work as of May 1st next year. Citizens will be allowed to freelance only after working at their normal state jobs and must pay an average 13% income tax. For many citizens, the new law is the first tangible signal the government is serious about economic reform and comes as a relief to anyone who has waited in line for service work.
Maybe it will help the man who wants to work to make extra money for his family. And of course it helps us too.
Soviet officials are trying to downplay what a fundamental change this is after decades of branding private work as selfish and unnecessary. Under Soviet communism, love of the state, not the love of money, is supposed to motivate the workforce.
The changing law won't change the Soviet economy very much. It will just legalize what happens on the street anyway. And the Soviets know they will have headaches collecting taxes from entrepreneurs, like the private taxi drivers who have years of experience skirting the law. For many Russians, legalization will just take some of the delicious mischief out of doing business as usual. Street corner hawkers won't risk arrest for profiteering anymore. Now, they'll just be tax evaders. Wyatt Andrews, CBS News, Moscow.
West German Chancellor Helmut Kohl sat down at home last night to watch himself on television delivering a taped New Year's speech. He knew right away that something was wrong when he wished the nation a Happy New Year 1986. In fact, it was last year's taped address. One of the German networks broadcast the entire speech in which Kohl reviewed the events of 1985 and looked forward to last year. The network said it was a terrible accident. The government said it was scandalized. A spokesman for the opposition party said it didn't make any difference because the chancellor's speeches all sound the same anyway.
That'll do it. Who wants grapefruit juice?
I'll pass.
It's good for you. It's great for dieting.
I know, but...
Lots of vitamin C?
Yeah, but
the taste? Yeah, try this. Ocean Spray Pink Grapefruit Juice Cocktail. It's tangy, smoother, sweeter.
This is grapefruit juice?
Uh-huh.
It's not bitter.
It's Ocean Spray Pink Grapefruit Juice Cocktail. And it's not just good for you, it's good. Ocean Spray good.
You've just had your dentures professionally cleaned.
How can I keep them looking this way?
With professional strength Efferdent. Efferdent removes stains, kills germs, cleans away plaque, even in between. For a professional looking clean, get Efferdent.
If you're allergy sensitive, cold symptoms can make your winter attacks feel even worse. For relief, discover Benadryl Decongestant. With Benadryl, the most prescribed allergy medication ever, plus a nasal decongestant. Benadryl Decongestant.
1986 saw the conclusion of the bitter Hormel meatpacking strike in Minnesota after workers found themselves caught among the conflicting demands of another local union, their national union, and management. That seemed an unusual scenario, but in 1987, Harry Smith reports, it's being enacted all over again in a different industry.
Pray that thou would bless our home and bless our family.
When Harold Callies and his family say grace, they give thanks for the blessings in their lives. But the Callies and hundreds of other families whose breadwinners work for Firestone in Oklahoma City are also praying they'll have jobs in 1987. Firestone gave its 1,200 union employees here an ultimatum. Take a hefty $3.50 an hour wage cut or see the plant close in 6 months.
They know that we're going to need a job and that we're going to be more willing to accept concessions because we know there's no other jobs out there.
Not in Oklahoma, where the oil bust has sent unemployment soaring. The workers voted to accept the cut, but the national union vetoed the deal, claiming Firestone only wants to send American jobs overseas. But without wage concessions, Firestone officials say they can't compete, and the plant will close.
It's not an easy thing to do to say to somebody that we're going to close a plant. But at the same time, we, speaking as a corporation, we can't jeopardize the jobs of the other people in the company.
It's clearly an attempt on the part of the Firestone company to put more money in their pockets at the expense of the people on the production line.
Firestone started restructuring in 1979. Since then, the company has shut down 10 plants, putting thousands of people out of work. All the Oklahoma City Firestone workers want is a job. And while they hope the union or the company changes its decision, either way, it will be a no-win new year. Harry Smith, CBS News, Oklahoma City.
President Reagan's new federal budget will include a request for a new type of student loan program and seek $600 million from other parts of the Education Department budget to pay for it. The new program would allow students to borrow up to $50,000. How quickly they pay the money back would be based on their income. The first of many changes for the American taxpayer in 1987 has already arrived, a new W-4 form which all wage earners have to fill out as part of tax simplification. The instructions for filling it out are 3 times as long as they used to be. Karen Boros has the latest in our series, Taxes, Countdown to Change.
The Tax Reform Act of 1986 is finally making its way to the taxpayers this week as employers begin to hand out the new tax withholding certificate. Form W-4 is the government's way of making taxation simple.
The government could use a translator. I know what they're trying to do is simplify it, but it seems like every year it gets more and more complex.
The new form and attached worksheet comes with a page of instructions designed to accurately predict your taxes and set your paycheck deductions to cover the bill. 4 pages of help from the government.
It looks very complex. I would probably have to get help from someone to do it.
And it's basically the baptism by fire, so to speak, for anybody with regards to the new tax law.
The IRS claims that because of the new tax law, nearly half the taxpayers, 50 million people, will end up with changes in their paycheck deductions after filling out Form W-4. People most likely to have the most changes are those working 2 jobs, couples with both spouses working, people with consumer loans, those with large interest and dividend income, and those who itemize their deductions.
The complexity may not be as much in the eye of the Internal Revenue Service as it may be in the public.
Taxpayers have until October 1st to make their withholding changes, but are urged by the IRS to act quickly and avoid penalties for underestimating their tax bill.
I'm always very confused by tax forms, and I always have to sit and read them several times before I understand anything.
It's more intimidating, it's more comprehensive, it's more thorough, but it's in many respects good, because it forces you to do some forecasting.
The government is ready for a few mistakes. 300 million new withholding forms have been printed, nearly 2 for every wage earner. Karen Boris, CBS News, Chicago.
This coupon is good for Sharon Armstrong. This coupon is good for Peter O'Malley. All these coupons are good. Good because they help Special Olympics. In your Publishers Clearinghouse mail, you'll find over 25 coupons valued at $7. For each one you redeem, Procter & Gamble will donate 10 cents to Special Olympics, up to $750,000. And that's good for Gary Johnson. Look for Procter & Gamble coupons. They're good for Special Olympics and you.
If you're taking more pills than you like for minor arthritis pain, try Aspercreme. Aspercreme concentrates hours of relief right where you hurt, penetrating, long-lasting relief. And there's no odor. Aspercreme, strong, effective relief without pills or odor.
This woman has an irritating rash that's inflamed and itchy. She's using maximum strength Cortisone 5 to go deep below the skin's surface. Cortisone 5 gets under the itch for soothing relief and help in healing. Cortisone 5, itch relief and help in healing.
Too much of a good thing. It's a fitting phrase for this time of year. It applies to all those holiday meals. It applies to all those football games between now and Super Bowl Sunday. Gary Reeves reports it even applies to a football player who is too much of a good thing.
New Year's Day, the day millions of Americans make a resolution to lose weight. But now, William the Refrigerator Perry, the biggest man in pro football who got famous because he is fat, must either lose weight or lose his job playing for the Chicago Bears.
How much do you weigh right now, Wayne? Do you know?
Like I told you, from 300 to 350.
So it could be 349.
Could be 308.
If he doesn't take it off, he'd be in jeopardy of not being here, period.
Perry was recently voted the top sports hero by America's teens, but now his legendary flab has touched off a new flap.
The refrigerator's too fat. He needs all the weight he can right there on the line so they can't move him.
Last year, when Perry was scoring touchdowns, no one complained about his being fat. Instead, America loved it.
Refrigerator, rah, rah, rah! Woo!
He inspired his own brand of cheerleaders and made tons of money doing commercials that poked fun at his weight.
Lots of room for a snack.
But this season took a lot of the fun out of being fat for Perry. This fumble may have cost the Fridge his job as a goal line running back, and when the season ended with Perry too slow to catch quarterbacks, his weight wasn't so funny anymore.
I'm not worried about how he's playing right now. I want him to be alive when he's 29 years old.
Perry has lost about $38,000 in bonuses because he's about 30 pounds too heavy. But losing out on $1,200 per pound doesn't have him worried.
Are you trying to lose weight?
Oh, man, I'm just trying to stay the same.
Losing the pounds will be tough for Perry, maybe even impossible. But if the refrigerator can't slim down, he may be thrown out, just like a used appliance. Gary Reeves, CBS News, Chicago.
Think your cereal is nutritious? Put down your spoon and listen. Because a leading consumer magazine ranked 59 cold cereals on fiber, protein, sugar, sodium, and fat. And of those 59 cereals, they found 3 varieties in Nabisco shredded wheat topped the ratings, providing plenty of fiber and protein, no sugar, and very little sodium or fat. So before you pick up your spoon, pick up the leading cereal that topped the ratings, Nabisco shredded wheat.
Nabisco. Finally, they put the medicine I prefer into coated caplets.
Anacin caplets, the first coated caplets containing aspirin, the pain-relieving medicine doctors recommend most.
I like the strength and the easy-to-swallow coating.
Anacin, doctor recommended, now in coated caplets, too.
Isn't it about time you sent in that Publishers Clearinghouse entry?
Nobody ever really wins those things, so what's the rush? That's what I used to think.
You gotta rush, because January 29th is coming fast. That's when Publishers Clearinghouse announces the winning number for $10 million right on TV. So stop making excuses. Only Publishers Clearinghouse can make you so rich, so fast. So enter.
There's no place like our house.
Come on, send it in.
Why is my antacid Tums? Tums is effective. It neutralizes 1/3 more stomach acid than the other leading brand. And Tums is rich in calcium. To me, that's extra good news.
It is journalism we offer you here on the Evening News, not much in the way of deep thinking. But Charles Osgood closes our broadcast on the first evening of the new year with the report of a study by University of California biochemists. You may find it worth thinking deeply about.
200,000 years ago on the African continent, the biochemists are saying, there lived a certain woman who belonged to an early tribe of Homo sapiens. It was her children who survived, her descendants who migrated 70,000 years later to the four corners of the earth to become Aborigines, Asians, and Caucasians.
If that is true, it gives us some things to think about as we begin the year 1987 AD.
For one thing, it means that all war is fratricide. It means that all the people in various parts of the world, from Central America to Afghanistan, South Africa to the Middle East, who are hating and killing each other for whatever reasons, are hating and killing their own blood relatives. It means that those of us who are comfortable and well off in this world, the well-fed and well-housed, cannot say that the homeless and starving are no concern of ours. We are all connected by a thread of DNA. Written on every cell in the body of every rich and every poor person on earth is the genetic signature of one primitive woman, the mother of us all. It means that Bach and Bismarck, Caesar and Confucius, Martin Luther and Martin Luther King were all related to each other and to us. Every noble thought and inspired work of art is part of us. We are kin to every genius who ever was and to every fool. The biochemical study uses a part of the cell inherited only from the mother, so these current tests tell us nothing about paternity, only about the maternal lineage. Nothing about Adam, some would say, only about Eve. All the world's great religions have tried to tell us through the centuries that we humans are brothers and sisters, but we wouldn't listen. Now come these biochemists to say it is more than a figure of speech. Charles Osgood, CBS News, New York.
That's the CBS Evening News. I'm Charles Kuralt, sitting in for Dan Rather. Happy New Year. Good night.
Runny nose, watery eyes, congestion, and a headache. When you've got all these sinus symptoms all together, you've got sinus complex. And that's too complex a problem for most cold or sinus remedies. You need maximum strength Sinutab, specially developed to relieve all the symptoms of sinus complex. Sinutab, you'll feel altogether better. And take new Sinutab nighttime at night to feel altogether better in the morning.
Even without this box, I'd know this is a delicious Sunsweet prune. Am I psychic? Observant. This pitted prune is clearly rounder and plumper. That makes it a Sunsweet prune. It also makes it delicious.
You see, today is tomorrow in Japan, so when you come for Clark tomorrow, it will be today.
Life takes a time. Remember, Rome wasn't built in a day.
Take it to Midas.
At Midas, we can replace mufflers, brake shocks, or struts on most foreign cars, and we won't take all day to do it. Time is money.
Take it to Midas.
If I'd wanted it tomorrow, old chap, I wouldn't be here today.
Take it to someone you trust.
Tums doesn't have it. Rolaids doesn't have it. Maalox Plus does. We have what you need for complete relief of excess acid, heartburn, and gas. Maalox for acid and heartburn, plus simethicone for gas. Get complete relief. Try Maalox Plus.
We'll take a look at how the new tax laws will affect your next paycheck. And Warner Wolf with the best sports plays of the year. Tomorrow on the CBS Morning News.
This is CBS.
The TV8 News, live at 6, next.
Come to the Valley West Mall Winter Sidewalk Sale, Friday through Sunday. Valley West Mall quality at sidewalk sale prices.
You know, Mr. Jefferson, Mr. Whitendale considers you an excellent tenant.
See, that's what I like about him. He's a good judge of character.
That's why he really went out of his way to find you larger quarters.
Charlie's bar? It's smaller than the store I got.
But it won't be when you tear down the wall in between.
Look, ethics ain't got nothing to do with this. This is business. You call it business, I call it the shack. I don't care what you call it. I call it making money, and that's the bottom line. Money.
Don't miss The Jeffersons tonight, right after the TV8 News, live at 10.
I'm Steve Kometko, Rock and Roll Evening.